Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sergeant K's Corner. The subject I'm going to be talking about today, I actually had to take a couple of days and cool off over. I'm a little late in recording this, and for good reason. It really disturbed me, it really bothered me, and I wanted to be able to present my points in a logical manner and not get so worked up that I couldn't present properly. I'm talking about the shootings, plural, at Covenant Presbyterian in Nashville, as you might have guessed. The shooter's name was Audrey Hale. Now, the news media has made a slight point of bringing out that Audrey was transing into male or living as a male, and I'll get to that later. Right now, I want to talk about some things. How many more shootings are we going to have to deal with before this comes to an end? And it's an emotional thing. I can't imagine what it has to be like to lose your child in one of these situations, or for that matter, like the Christmas parade shooting, soft targets. The schools are soft targets. My first point is that because the schools are such soft targets, that we need to get security in the schools, not necessarily to control some of the students, although in some of the worst neighborhoods, the students do need to be controlled too, but to not make our schools such inviting soft targets. Locked doors, you see it in house break-ins. Locked doors only keep honest people out. Somebody who really wants to get in is going to get in. And as you saw from the video that they've been showing on the news, Ms. Hale shot the glass out of the doors and let herself in. And she used to be a student at this school. So she knew the school very well. So the locked doors are not enough. My feeling on this is we need to put police back in the schools. The school district is just going to have to come up with a way to pay for it. It's just the way it is. And, for that matter, the school districts should concentrate less on teaching these ridiculous subjects that they want to teach and worry less about accommodating bathrooms and things of that type. Now, I understand that this was a religious school, and they probably were not doing some of that. But, I'm talking about schools in general. Maybe if we quit worrying about teaching that, having two same-sex parents or transgenderism or being a furry was normal and okay, that there are just two genders. It's a scientific fact. There are two genders. There's males and females. What you do with your sexuality is your own business. Number one. Number two, if you don't want people to judge you, then keep your private life private. But I digress. Getting back to our schools. We need to put police or armed security in the schools. Period. It's a shame that we have to do that, but it, at this point, is a need. Again, it's a shame that we have to do that. There's a lot of military police out there, or former military police out there, that could be hired at a living wage who would be more than happy to protect children. And you could put them to work. You don't necessarily have to pull police off the streets to do this kind of thing. And as far as gun laws, look, I'm a Second Amendment proponent. The Second Amendment is in the Constitution for a reason. It allows us to form militias, and it clearly states that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And there's reasons for that. There's reasons for that. And honestly, guns are an inanimate object. Guns don't kill. It's the person controlling the gun. And, some of us just like to go to the range and shoot, find it relaxing to punch holes in a paper target. Some people like to hunt. But it's not about hunting. It's not about going to the range. The Second Amendment is there for people to be able to protect themselves from other people and from our government, frankly. That's the whole reason for being able to form militias. Again, like I've taught in other Sergeant K Corner episodes, you have to look at the time frame that our writers of the Constitution lived in and what was going on. It's no different than taking a hammer. If I build you a house, if I take a hammer and I build you a house, I've done something good with that hammer. If I take that hammer and I bash your skull in, I've done something horrible with that hammer. If I take a firearm and I protect you from being killed, I've done something good with that firearm. If I take that firearm and I pull something like this, there's no words to describe how horrible this is. No words. Part of the problem is you'll notice that these people have all had mental issues, mental health problems. Mental health problems are epidemic in our country right now. Nobody has denied that. But the problem is how are they getting guns? Well, we have these things called HIPAA laws. And HIPAA laws say that medical information cannot be shared. And okay, I get that. People's privacy, I get it. I understand it. I agree with it, except to the fact where it becomes a mental issue where someone's emotional or psychological state is not such that they can operate normally. And I don't care what anybody says. I know that I'm going to irritate some people, and frankly, I don't care. This whole transgender thing, these people are suffering. And they are suffering from a mental illness. You are what you are born to be. And when I say you are what you are born to be, if you were born a male, you're a male. If you were born a female, you're a female. The fact that you don't feel comfortable in your own skin is something that you need counseling and you need to seek help for. Not go shoot up a school of children. Not go to a parade and shoot up a bunch of people. Not go, and that's going to lead me to one of my last couple of points here is, the people who own firearms don't want their Second Amendment rights played with by the government. And frankly, I think they're right. However, I have a different point of view on this in that I think that gun owners and the firearms industry need to take the lead on this. Look, if you don't want the Constitution changed so that you lose your right to own guns, if you don't want the government getting into your business, then you need to put your heads together and come up with a way to keep these kind of incidents from happening. Period. The gun industry could help fund security at the schools. Imagine that. There could be a tax put on firearms to help fund security at schools. The problem with that is that the government will find someplace else to put those taxes. Kind of like when they sold us on the lottery and said the lottery was going to pay for education and fund our schools, and now the lottery really, the schools get very little of the lottery money. Anyway, I digress on that. So I'm calling out the firearms industry. I own firearms. I enjoy them. I intend to continue to own them. For me, it's relaxing, like I said, to go shoot targets, zombie targets and paper targets and see how well I can do. It's, it's an enjoyable thing, and it's protection for my family. So I'm calling out gun owners and the NRA and these other gun groups, firearms industry, rub your heads together, make a fire, and come up with a way to pay for security at the schools and not put our most vulnerable at risk. You know, it's we got to do something. We don't want them dinking around with the Second Amendment. Then something's got to happen. And lastly, the part that really irritates me, and I know it's irritated a lot of people, because I've seen all the comments on social media. Our president coming downstairs and trying to do stand-up comedy with his chocolate chip ice cream. Mr. President, that was just stupid. That was just stupid. You know what? It's great that you like chocolate chip ice cream. Happens to be my favorite ice cream as well. But with what just happened, really? You're going to start out by talking about chocolate chip ice cream. Nice. Nice way to try and you know, maybe you were just trying to be funny and alleviate the situation and the seriousness of the situation. But when it comes down to school shootings or parade shootings or any kind of thing where someone that has mental issues has attacked a soft target and people are dead, nobody cares about your chocolate chip ice cream. And people who voted for him, I hope you are happy. Look, Donald Trump, not a fan of him either. Joe Biden, yeah. And then he sits there and he says he's a Second Amendment guy. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. And it's got to stop. It just really needs to stop. We need to stop taking it out on our children. You know, I got out of the shower and the TV news was on this morning, and in Rockford, Illinois, they're talking about how a child got shot in the head last night and is in the hospital and, you know, in critical condition. And it's like, you go down to Broadway and 7th Street area in the city of Rockford, you could see all the gangbangers and the prostitutes and the drug dealers and all the stuff that you would ever want to see. It's getting almost as bad as the city of Chicago, which my understanding is now they call Chicago Chirac, and for good reason. There's as many shootings in the city of Chicago in a week as there were in Iraq. It's just got to stop. American people, you know, we're doing the work for the countries that don't like us when we're shooting each other. We're doing their job for them. They want to kill Americans, they don't have to worry about it. We're doing it for them. But, Mr. President, I'm going to ask you nicely, sir, when something like this goes on, pull your head out of your rear end and don't talk about chocolate chip ice cream. I don't care if you like chocolate chip ice cream when that kind of thing is going on. You know, you want to talk about chocolate chip ice cream at the State of the Union address, that's fine. You want to talk about it at, you know, giving out awards or doing some of the other presidential things that you need to do, that's fine. But when a bunch of innocent children have been killed and you start out talking about chocolate chip ice cream, maybe your intention was to lighten the situation a little bit, but there is no way to lighten that situation. There is no way. Gun industry, firearms owners, gun clubs, Second Amendment rights groups, you better wise up. You better come up with a way to keep guns, whether legally purchased or illegally, out of the hands of crazies who are going to go after kids and any other soft target. Gun industry, I implore you to seriously consider funding putting armed security in schools. We can't afford to be losing any more children, whether it's a religious school, whether it's a private school. You know, And I don't care what the religion is. I don't care if it's a Muslim school. I don't care if it's a Christian school. I don't care if it's a whatever kind of school it is. This should not be happening in America today. Period. It should not be happening in America today. And again, if you don't want the Second Amendment screwed with, you better step up to the plate and you better hit a home run. I don't want my rights taken away because I didn't commit any of these crimes. I don't want to be punished because of somebody else. That's not fair. That's not the American way. But the gun industry, I'm calling on you to step up to the plate. I'm flying my flag out in front of my house at half-mast. It will be there all week. I truly mourn and I truly feel bad for these families. I cannot imagine what they have to be going through. This is a time for them to lean on their faith and understand they will see their child again. If they are a born-again believer, they will see that child again. It doesn't make it any easier right now. But they will see their child again. But I sure would like to live in a country where this kind of junk stops. And our president doesn't act like a fool. And the Bible clearly says, I'm inviting everybody to go to Matthew 18. And Jesus speaking. And he says, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he was drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe unto the world because of offenses, for offenses must come, but woe to that man by whom that offense comes. And he's talking about, if you go back further, he says, whoever causes one of these little ones to sin. In other words, whoever offends a child. You know, and in closing, the people who lost their children aren't the only victims here. Our entire country is a victim here, because this makes us all look like a bunch of gun-happy idiots. Number one. And Audrey Hale, her parents. And yes, I use the term her because it was a her. It was not a he. I don't care what she was dressing like. And we know now by the news that 2 of the weapons were legally obtained, and that's one of the reasons I'm calling on the gun industry to step up to the plate. In any case, I've had my say. If it aggravates you, don't care. If it makes you think, great. Remember, this is my show. Until next time, God bless you. Continue to pray for the people in Nashville. Continue to pray for our country. Continue to pray for our president. Continue to pray for the world, because this world has lost its mind. Lean into God. Lean into Jesus. Lean into your faith, because you're going to need it more now than ever before. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.